start this week, since Gundark has not been able to join us for a couple of weeks, and she wants to kind of give some of her take on the last couple of episodes that Greedo and I have been going on and on about. So I will release the floor to Gundark. Take it away. You pull out your red pen and just mark up our papers.
No. As I was telling you guys before we started recording, I just have a different interpretation of this show than you seem to so far. I wasn't able to join you on the last two podcast episodes, but I was able to watch them. And there are many things I agree with that you said as your critique of the show. But at the same time, I think I am having a different experience than most Star Wars fans. From what I've read online too, there's a lot of negativity surrounding the show from Star Wars fans, and a lot of disappointment expressed. And I'm just not feeling any of that. It's just not. And this may be due to my own situation, my own biases. Back when we did the Star Wars Christmas special this past Christmas, and we talked about what we were expecting for the coming year in Star Wars entertainment, we talked about the television series coming up and which ones we were most excited about. And I said that the Boba Fett series was the least anticipated for me, because even though I wanted something live action Boba Fett since the time we saw him in the original trilogy, I feel like I got that story in The Mandalorian, kind of. And this is something that you guys are pointing out in the last podcast episode, and something that we've chatted about too, is that Mendo seemed like he was patterned on Boba Fett in the first place, and so we got the loner bounty hunter storyline with some badass stuff in it. And so I went into the Boba Fett show really not having great expectations. I was thinking of it as kind of a interlude, in The Mandalorian, fleshing out the Boba Fett character who had been introduced as really a new and different character that changed, in The Mandalorian. And I got to see how he changed. It's got a lot of weaknesses to it. I agree with you that Fennec Shand needs a lot more development, that there's some inconsistencies in Boba's character where he'll do some badass stuff and then suddenly he's spending more time negotiating and talking. But I don't feel those inconsistencies as strongly as you do, because I feel like the beginning episodes of this show showed me enough to give me a sense of where he was going. And I don't mind the direction of going away from a loner toward a tribe mentality. That is fine to me. That wonderful Tusken episode where they attacked the train, that already set that up for me, so I don't mind the evolution in this character. And I think Tamara Morrison is just totally selling it for me. I love him in the role. I like the new dad, Boba Fett. I'm enjoying it. But I think it may be because I wasn't going into it with the expectations of having a badass crime syndicate bounty hunting show. I don't really mind it being another family show. It's been entertaining enough for me so far, especially that second episode, that I just can't get over the joy of that second episode. I enjoyed it so much. And the other episodes have been entertaining enough to keep me enjoying it. I look forward to seeing it every week. And again, it may be because of my own biases that I'm not expecting the same thing, I guess, that most other Star Wars fans are. But if you're able to accept it for what it is rather than what you expected, this may not be the Star Wars show that I expected or maybe even wanted, but for me, it's the Star Wars show I needed. I needed something fun, entertaining. I don't care that it's family oriented. I've been enjoying the hell out of it every week and look forward to it. And it's had enough really good high points for me to keep sticking with it.
Yeah.
So that's my
okay. No, I that's great. I agree with most of that. To touch on the topic of family oriented, I don't necessarily agree that it's family oriented, other than the standpoint if we're talking about the whole kind of crux of the show is showing how important it is to be part of a group.
I think it is family oriented though.
I don't know that it's so
Disney
family friendly. I
show.
mean, it's family friendly in the standpoint that they're not showing a lot of gore,
That's
and they're
what I
not
think.
showing,
Yeah.
Yes,
they're not
yeah.
showing blatant
Every single
violence.
scene they decide what can we show and what can we
Right.
not
Yeah.
show.
Right. No, I get that.
Because
I
we
get
want the
that.
whole family to if dad's
Exactly.
watching Book of Boba Fett, we want the kids to watch it too.
Right,
And the dad not
exactly.
have
No,
to watch it, you know.
I
That's
get that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I get that. And yeah,
We're
and
in agreement on
to that
that,
degree,
yeah.
you're right, I think. But I guess let me bring up Greedo's point that he had made a couple of weeks ago when we were talking, that, or maybe even last week, that it feels kind of like a bait and switch. You know, when you get that original teaser for this is the Book of Boba Fett, all we see is him walking in, not saying a word, and just blowing away, you know,
Yeah.
Bib Fortuna, and then we get the show we get. You know, and
Yeah.
again, not taking away from the show we got. I do love this show. Don't get me wrong. But I think Greedo makes a great point with that bait and switch, that it's like, you know, we look like we're going to get this badass. I'm not even talking. I'm letting my blaster do the talking, you know, and just bang, blowing somebody, throwing his dead body and sitting down on the throne, almost like propping up his feet on the dead corpse almost, you know, like, yeah, that's right. That's who I am. And now the show is coming at you. And then we get the show and it's all like, you know, Boba Fett being offended that Fennec Shand is threatening violence if you don't open the door. Like, oh, that was a little harsh. Oh, I'm offended by that. You know, it's like, okay, you just got me blowing away Big Fortuna.
I think that's that I was coming at it from a point of view of having looked around the internet, poked around the internet, which I probably shouldn't have done. And if people are discontent, I think that's the source of a lot of it. Is they feel there was a bait and switch, like, and it comes back to that poison of your expectations, you know. And
yeah, of
we
course.
talk about it every time a new Star Wars project comes out. It's like, what are your expectations? And we always say, I'm trying to just dismiss them and not let them rule me, because those lead to disappointment. And it's funny to me that so many people are celebrating this episode. And let's go ahead and right now and say spoilers, because we're going to start talking about episode 5. Spoilers from this point on. Because Mandalorian encountered a lot of the same complaints, not nearly as much. It was a bit, you know, I think it was a smash and everything, but as the show went on, people complained about the very elements that we see in this episode. We've seen all this stuff in this episode before. We've seen it all before. There's nothing new except, you know, the labels and the specific ships and but there's nothing new in this. And people complained about it, and now they're celebrating it like it's so superior. So we've been trained. Mandalorian brought us along like a video game, step by step, and trained us on what to expect. And Boba Fett, I think it's just had a little bit of struggles hitting its stride its first, if it is a first season, whatever it is, you know, coming right out of the gate. I think that's hard to do, and we give a lot of things that we like a break when it starts out trying to find its legs. And I kind of feel like that's what they've done mostly with the character of Boba Fett. They've just had a little trouble finding the legs with what's the good, you know, balance here between what we're trying to achieve and what feels authentic for the character and everything like that. So, but as far as the family thing, and I agree with everything you said, Gundark. I enjoy the show too. I don't enjoy it as much as you do probably, but I never was going to. I was never excited for the show. I thought, cool, we're getting it, I guess, you know. I wasn't that excited about going back to Tatooine again. You know, I even brought it up before that Tatooine feels kind of, you know, wrung out at this point. But you're right, as a add-on or as a extra chapters or whatever it is, as a comic, you know, a side comic, it's perfectly fine. It's just isn't quite what some of us expected, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll speak to the expectations part of it, because I think more than any of us, I, you know, looked at a lot of the trailers and the expectation videos and stuff leading up to this show. So I did get my hopes up a lot, you know, and so I will freely admit that I came into this with my expectations at a higher level than I would have had I not done that. So naturally, I'm feeling a little bit let down by that. Again, not saying I don't like the show. I do. I'm thoroughly enjoying the show. I guess it's kind of made me a little wary, I think, going into future shows that are coming out, because, you know, when, you know, I buy into comments from, you know, Rodriguez, showrunner, you know, saying this show over delivers, and I'm 5 episodes in going, okay, when is that delivery going to arrive? You know,
exactly.
And yet, so now I'm hearing the same things about other shows, and I'm noticing that when I hear that, I'm all like, right. I'm hearing already that, the Obi-Wan trailer, when it comes out, is going to blow people's minds. It's going to blow everyone's mind. I'm like, yeah, right. It's going to suck. You know what I mean?
And there's a difference.
To that degree,
you really want to blow people's minds. That means you're pushing boundaries, which means not everyone's going to like it.
Right.
You know
It's going to be polarizing.
Right. It's going to be, if it blows your mind, it's probably polarizing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can't really play it as safe as I feel like this series has done. And I've said that from the beginning. I wanted more savagery. That's just me, what I wanted. I don't get what I want, but I expected more from this combination of Rodriguez and Boba Fett, the character. And again, a deadly word, expected, but I never could have anticipated exactly how they've rounded his edges off in such a weird way, where we brought it up last time, where he's allowed to just wholesale murder some characters, and then he's expected
other characters
to talk down
just
off the ledge. These
just talk it
characters. It's not consistent, and that's what I want to see from.
I think when he wholesale murdered the Nikto biker gang, and that was what you were referring to from the episode 4. That to me it made sense in terms of why he would attack or want to destroy them. If he really thought that they destroyed the Tusken Raiders, sure, I would imagine he would wipe them out like that. What bothered me about that, though, was what you pointed out, is that it wasn't a smart thing to totally wipe them out without having one to question, and make sure, because there was obviously someone else bigger behind that, even if they actually were the ones who killed the tribe, there was something else bigger.
There's somebody else pulling the strings.
Yeah.
It's almost like Boba Fett knew a bad guy is going to confess to this later. So I don't have to do anything now, except show how angry I am. Yeah, it's plot driven. It's not character driven, because Fennec Shand even said, she has to be the smart one all the time. She says, "You think bikers, killed a whole Tusken tribe? I don't know."
And I'll agree with you on that point. There's a weakness in showing his character's decisions. They have him make too many questionable decisions.
And I almost feel like they're looking at it episode by episode, moment by moment, and saying, let's do this in this moment because Fennec needs to do something. And they're forgetting, they're saying Boba has all this story. He has all this story. We have these scenes where he's badass. We don't really need to take care of him like we do some of these other characters. But they're not looking at the cumulative effect of the audience watching episode after episode, where Boba Fett looks questionable to us, and he's got to be the Godfather. That means the one thing he cannot be is weak.
Yeah.
And to us, he looks questionable.
And he has to have strategy.
Right.
And you pointed out that his strategy is
lacking. That's what I read. Somebody somewhere said when he found the Rancor, he said, "I want to ride this thing." It says, anybody else getting the vibe that he's just making this up as he goes along? Like, oh, cool, a Rancor, I'm gonna ride it. It's like, dude, let's settle down. Take care of first. But so you gotta get the idea. Fett doesn't really have a plan. He's just
making it up as he goes along.
Yeah. And I understand you want a tribe and all, but my thing is just the show feels disjointed because we don't know anything about this biker gang except the way they look, and we barely know that. How come they're adopted into the tribe? I mean, just why? All I really need is a why. Did Boba Fett have a relationship at some point in his life that these kids remind him of? You know what I mean? Does he have some way of relating to them where he had to, is it because Fennec with the droid parts, and so he's willing to give outcasts of that ilk a chance because of the favor they did? I mean, there's nothing really shown or implied that we can hold on to know why this tribe is being built other than just random people he's running across. And they just could have done a better job with that.
I think a couple of things kind of to speak to that.
Here we are just slamming everything.
One of the points that
we're not. I agree with you on everything you said.
I agree with you too. It's just that I think the weaknesses weigh heavier with you guys than they do with me. They're not outweighing my enjoyment of the show, at least not so far.
What we
we've only
need
got
is
2 episodes left. So.
what we need is we need to convert Boba Fett's blaster, which if anybody knows the name of the blaster, bonus points because I don't. But we need to convert that to the discussion wand or the discussion hammer.
Yeah.
And we since Boba Fett's not using it, we can just pass it back and forth.
Clearly never gonna use it
Whoever
again,
has
yeah.
the blaster gets to speak next without interruption.
Whoever gets
It'll be the
to
blaster of
Exactly.
democracy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the
Democratic
democracy
discussion.
blaster.
Right. Finnick has the blaster. Everybody silent.
Exactly.
The Rancor wants to
Exactly.
speak. He has the blaster.
The Rancor ones.
But I interrupted the trader, so I'll
Yeah,
hand
go
the
ahead, Trader.
blaster
What were you
back
gonna
to
Oh, no,
say?
you're
Is it
fine.
forgotten?
Well, I just think that part of this is part of the problem that we're getting is because the story is being told from such a ground level perspective. I don't think we're getting much bird's eye view of anything. You know what I'm
No.
saying? So they're not showing big picture. They're not answering these questions. It's almost like they're just keeping us in the dark on purpose. And that can be utilized well if it's done right, but I don't think it's been done right to this point.
The reason to utilize it is for the mystery and for to reveal something.
Right.
Like if Boba Fett appeared clueless and then suddenly everything fell into place in his master plan, we'd be like, oh, now
Right.
I know not to underestimate him, but we're in pretty far.
That's the problem. It's taken too long. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you brought up the point too that this is kind of first person storytelling. You know, up until the most recent episode, everything that happened is almost like from Boba Fett's, like if Boba Fett doesn't see it, it didn't happen.
Right.
You know, we like as the audience, we don't know that it happened unless Boba Fett sees it. You know, so it's literally being
they
told
don't even
like
show the
like a
major
novel
domo,
is
like
written in
scurrying
first person.
away like behind the door. They just go, oops, this door is locked. He must be running. So almost all the time, it's only what Boba Fett sees. So we're limited to what he sees. Therefore, we don't understand his decisions when they don't make sense with what we're seeing, because it's just odd. But there's a whole lot of concessions you have to make on this just to enjoy it for what it is. We're seeing what it is. They're not going to fool us. You know what I mean? It's what I say about Mandalorian all the time. It's like there is a formula. You're getting it is what you see for right now.
Yeah.
I think if they do a chapter or a book 2 of Boba Fett, I bet you anything they'll make some changes, because one thing that this crew has shown is that they figure out what's working, what isn't, and try to listen to people.
Right. Yeah, they're
in
good
a
at
good
that.
way.
Yeah, they're good at that.
Not in a real bad fan service way necessarily, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it surprises me. I want to make a motion that maybe we make this whole intro its own episode, just for a discussion of what we have so far. But I saw some stuff where Tamura Morrison told Jon Favreau, I think Boba's talking too much. Have you guys seen that interview?
Yeah.
And he said, can you give some of my lines to Finnick? Can you change this? And it's Tamura almost seems like an innocent in this. Like, he doesn't even realize what he's saying, will be used as criticism by people against Favreau. And I'm not doing that. But it does show that, that Favreau is the one writing a lot of these scripts or script doctoring them or overlooking them or whatever. And he seems so sure-handed in episode 5. It's like we were back on solid ground. I knew exactly where we were. Everything felt familiar. And I'm confused a lot of the times in just minor ways with the actual Boba Fett scripts that are Boba Fett centric. It feels like we're on sand, is the best way I can put it. Mandalorian is on solid ground and Boba Fett is on Tatooine on shifting sand. I can't quite, I feel like they're just not locked in yet or something. Like they had such strong concepts coming out in the first 3 episodes of Mandalorian. People even still say the first season wasn't that great. I have no idea what they're talking about.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't get that.
And they're still following up on the ideas they set forth in those first few episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're very strong. They're awesome branding. They came up with quotable lines, constantly cool characters. And we feel like we're back to that branding, like even everything feels sure-footed. It's just, and whereas Boba Fett, the best lines we come up with are like apologies, and it just, I don't know, it's not quite hitting on all cylinders, but I get your point, Gundark, and I'm glad we have the show. I'm not hating on the show.
Not
it's
at all.
Just, you know me, it's when we talk about stuff, we're going to talk about everything about it. And you can sit there and go, oh my God, I was so pleased with this, but let's talk for 20 minutes about how pleased we were with this one thing. It's easier to kind of chew on the stuff that there's room for discussion on, And so it sounds negative, but I don't think Corellian, you're not really negative on this show, are you?
No, I'm not. I think I actually
neither.
fall kind of between the two of you. Honestly, I feel like Gundark's like really singing its praises, not affected at all by what we consider negative. I'm kind of in the middle, and you're a little bit below me, I think. And I think that kind of holds true with the ratings that we've been giving episodes, because if you look, Gundark and I have pretty much rated everything almost the same every episode.
Yeah, and I've been up and down.
You've been just a little bit below us, So I think
I'm finding that I'm enjoying the unexpected more than anything else.
Yeah.
And there's parts of the show where it's broken the mold and feels like it comes alive. And when it comes alive for a second, it makes me realize what I'm missing, why I'm kind of not totally connected the rest of the time. And so I don't need perfect plots. I don't need every plot hole, filled by Joe Pesci from Goodfellas or whatever at the bottom. I just need to have a good time, and I don't need it, but when the material comes alive, like Mandalorian is alive. I'm instantly connected with this character. They built him slowly, and there's a reason, but there's just something just right about that. You can't deny it. And
absolutely.
And the book of Boba Fett has come alive a handful of times where I felt like it's stepping beyond the plan, like something extra happened. A lot of the times I feel like I'm watching a play with backdrops where the characters meet in front of a backdrop and they do their lines. And it's very effective. They're cool characters and stuff, but it's not coming to life. And I'm not sitting there, ooh, is something weird about to happen, or is something about to twist, or
you're not sitting on the edge waiting for what's about to happen.
I just want to see more blood in the, not blood like spatter.
No,
I want to see more life,
right.
I just want to see the
Exactly.
characters more passionate and more alive. And I think that's what I've been begging for from Finnick and all these characters, and they're just not going to give it to me because they've decided her whole character is in the way she sits. If you notice, she uses every piece of furniture like a cat or something, Finnick, we bought you this throne. Yeah, I got this box over here.
Exactly.
I'm gonna sit my own way.
I'm just gonna sit over here with my legs up on this other box.
Her whole character is in the way she sits and the looks she shoots people. She's a person of few words, but and they're just not going to give me anything else right now, maybe until the final episode. So I just got to get used to that.
But you talk about the show coming alive at certain points. There was a point in that last episode 4, that it did for me that you guys didn't point out. So maybe it didn't have the same connection to you. You gave some analysis of that fireside scene with Boba and Finnick, where they talked about the importance of a tribe. But there was something else in that conversation where he mentioned, I have begun to realize I'm tired of our kind, bounty hunters, working for idiots, who are just going to get us killed. And when I was watching that with my husband, and we both just turned and looked at each other in shock, and we paused it. And we like, he's talking about Darth Vader. He's not just talking about Jabba the Hutt. He's talking about Darth Vader.
I never thought of that.
And
you're right. I didn't think of that either.
All of a sudden, all of Empire Strikes Back fell into a new context for me with his scenes in that film. He's standing there. He doesn't back down to Darth Vader. He's standing there looking badass. He's following him around. Like Solo is no good to me dead. He's following around and won't. He's
frustrated. With Vader's decisions.
And suddenly, like, wow. And that was a great moment in the show for me where it felt consistent with the character.
That's a good point.
That is a really good point.
Because Vader never really gave Boba Fett any credit. And it's like without Boba Fett, they wouldn't have found the Falcon, and because Han Solo outsmarted the Imperials,
Absolutely.
And then also everyone treats the bounty hunters like trash. They're just seen as the lowest,
the
lowest form.
Discarded.
Even Calrissian says, you're not giving Han to this bounty hunter.
The way he just like bounty hunter.
So see that little bit of that conversation, even though I agree with you guys, you mentioned that it came a little too late in the series. That gave much more foundation for me, the motivation of the change in him, with what he went through with the Tuscans, and it clicking with him that I'm tired of working for idiots on my own. If I get with other bounty hunters and I develop a tribe, maybe we don't have to be used by idiots like we have been. So it clicked with the character in the old way, but also showed the evolution of the character too for me.
I did
so
think
there are
Finnick
moments
Shan,
when it does that, but But
She
I
had a
agree
good
with you
point
that
though
it's,
when she said we would be out of work if the universe worked that way.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like there's just a difference of viewpoints here, where Boba Fett's been turned on to a wider viewpoint
Mhm.
of how we can get by without the need for this stuff. But whereas she's like, this is my world and it doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Right.
And so there's a conflict there, and that's where I get disconnected. Is he knows better, because that has been his line of work, is working. Who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he was also working for Jabba the Hutt at the exact same time he was working for Vader.
Yeah.
You could say Hutt was his first priority, kind
Sure.
of. Finding the Falcon was almost, he just showed up for a meeting of bounty hunters saying, "Find me the Falcon." He's like, that coincides with what I want. So I'm going to
Right.
collect 2
That's
bounties.
what I'm working on anyway. So.
Right. But anyway, it's just still, it feels weird to me. Like Boba Fett is almost expecting more of this world than he knows to expect. And I guess it is cool that he's trying to think of bounty hunters, but they already have a guild. I mean, they already, you know what I mean? It's like they have representation or whatever you want to call it. So I don't think it does them any good. But
Yeah.
as long as they're in that line of work, I guess it's just, I don't know what I'm saying, but I guess he just wants to be treated with respect, and then he's seeing the people around them aren't being treated with respect also, and that's what we come back to, that theme of rule with respect, and that leads to loyalty.
Right.
But then you're getting into kingdoms and armies,
Mhm.
as opposed to gangsters and
Right.
underground criminals.
Let me switch gears just a little bit, but we're still talking about the same fireside scene. This is a point that I know that I brought up to Greedo while we were messaging during the week, but we failed to mention it on the show. So I'd love to get your take on this, Gundark. But also in that same scene, this is a kind of is a nod also to this whole idea of Fennec, kind of fleshing out Fennec's character and what are her motivations and what makes her tick beyond just being this assassin or whatever, or is that all she is? When did you pick up on her reaction, Gundark, when Boba Fett told her basically well, I've lost my train of thought now. What he basically he basically said, when he's trying to sell the idea to her about joining this quote unquote family, he's trying to set up his own, crime syndicate or whatever you want to call it, and he basically says, I would lay down my life for you. I would, and she gets very uncomfortable for a second. I don't know if you picked up on that. It's really quick. And I don't know if that's something that they did on purpose, or was that just Ming Na Wen saying that's how my character would react to this? Because it's pretty quick, it's pretty fleeting. But if you watch it, you'll see that scene where she just kind of like, what is this? And the way I'm interpreting that is like, yeah, she does feel uncomfortable because their entire life, from what we've seen, is just her by herself. There's nobody there for her to count on. This is just her. So for her to suddenly relinquish any kind of control over that is very unnerving for her. And she's going to feel like, whoa. And she's going to back up from that, which is when she actually ultimately does in that conversation and says, hey, I'm just I'm an independent contractor, I'll do a job for you, but I'm not going to, join your group, as it were. What did you pick up on that at all? Or what are your thoughts along that?
I didn't. And I need to go back and watch that scene, because you guys gave a really great analysis of stuff in your last episode, of stuff that I wasn't paying attention to. What stood out to me was that comment about working for idiots. That was the thing that shocked me.
Exactly.
But
that's pretty wild to think of that.
That was really good. Yeah.
I would like to know though more, just like you guys were saying before, about what is the basis of the relationship between Fennec and Bubba? Why is she staying with him? I want more of her character development. That's a major weakness in the show for me. And if the actress is able to project something like that with a little looking at it in a certain way that would imply that there's something else deeper going on there, and maybe even foreshadowing some further conflict between them, I don't know. I agree with you that also her acceptance of, just blatant acceptance of being turned into a cyborg was kind of unsettling and weak. I wake up and my guts are just cyborg guts, and I'm like, what have you done to me? And this also makes me more obligated to you somehow, so I got to be tied to you. I don't think that they developed that reaction very well.
I agree. Yeah.
But other parts of that scene, I thought really other parts of that conversation worked well. And I do like I like the dynamic between them. I know that you don't care for sometimes it makes Boba Fett look stupid so that Shan can look smart,
Makes him look clueless. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's the one there. No, this is how you have to do it. I think Greedo made the great comparison. It's like, show dad how to work. This is how you work Roku, dad.
Yeah.
No, Boba, not that remote. The other remote.
Exactly.
I don't care for that aspect of it when it makes Boba look.
Well, they think it's funny. They think it's a funny dynamic of the relationship. I think it'd be funnier if she just kept killing things. And he kept saying, I needed to talk to them or something,
Right.
like something that was more about the rough edges of the characters, more so than her just constantly kind of having to nudge and correct him and him seeming kind of clueless. Like, I don't know. There's just things. I feel like that maybe this show was put into production really fast. And they have strong ideas. They had a strong background for the whole Tusken Raider vibe and everything. But the Tatooine plot has consisted of just walking back and forth to different locales. And they kind of shorted it on action. And to me, that says filler. And so that's what we come back to in a lot of these shows, to me, is it's just not lean and mean enough. And there's not, I was saying before, there's ways to show little things about new characters that make you interested in them, not just character design. They're great at these shows of character design and hooking you with that, and with charismatic actors and everything. They're terrific with that. But there's little things that only take a few seconds when you have all this runtime. If you're going to bring in these characters, give me a reason to latch onto them a little bit and some humanity to them, or something I can relate to. Even if it's just humor, but it has to be humor that works. But there's so many characters that have come in and they're just kind of passing in front of our eyes, and I don't know anything about them. And I like the show. I want to see the next episode, whatever they put in front of me, but I'm not like clamoring to see the further adventures of some of these characters. And I should be, I feel like, because The Mandalorian did a really fantastic job of that. Of little side characters. And for a while we thought the show was going to be about the outcasts of the Star Wars galaxy, really. Like you have the former slave in Quill, and you have the former Republic commando who kind of got disillusioned in Cara Dune. And those characters, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? It's like so far they've been in such a hurry kind of to move from plot point to plot point or whatever, that I'm not getting that hook to pull me in on some of these characters. But
and they've also had to spend so much time in the past, giving a backstory to Boba, that we haven't had maybe enough time with the present day characters to establish those connections. So
and then the whole structure of the show, and the back to flashbacks, and the fact that he needs to be weak for the way they've structured it to go, I think has put some people off, where he just seems too weak. We're waiting for him to come into his own. He never quite does until the moment the backstory is finished. Coincidentally, suddenly he's back to times perfectly.
Suddenly he's healed.
It's more like he went to a counselor, and the counselor said, "Okay, I think we've done all the work on your past we can do." But anyway, I think that even if the side characters are weak characterization, it's the book of Boba Fett. I keep coming back to that. That it's him, it's his point of view. We're with him, and we need to be on board with him. And the fact that I'm questioning him at this point is my only problem.
5 episodes in, and you're questioning still. Yeah, exactly.
And when I said they're making him Dad Fett, I do stand by that. I know you said you have no problem with the family structure of the show. They went to a lot of great lengths to give us a backstory of why he's that way. I wish I had known sooner. His mission statement of "I'm stronger with a tribe," it really clicked for me, even though I didn't. Even though I kind of went, "Oh, this is." It
took until episode 4 to.
But they justified it really well. But I wanted to know the strong statement for him about why he thinks the way he thinks, everything kind of going into this, not all the way near the end.
Right.
And but it is, to me, that's the other family aspect, is they're determined to fit these characters into some kind of Full House scenario, Jabba's palace. It's wacky over at Jabba's palace. And also something that struck me as funny in that last episode was he said, there's benefits to people thinking you're dead. It's like, that's badass, cool, Boba Fett. You have
Yeah,
strategy.
yeah.
But then he holds up a droid and goes, "Do you know who I am? I'm Boba Fett." To intimidate the droid, he tells him who he is, and then it just leaves him behind to tell everyone else. It's like, you go tell your bosses that Boba Fett is back, and then he flies away. And there's benefits to people thinking you're dead. Which is it? Boba Fett?
Yeah, well, which is it?
It's like, I would really be like, you definitely need that back to tank, because you're all over the place, dude. You're forgetting your own strategies and changing them out when the damage is already done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of to echo what you said, Greedo. Yeah, I agree with some of the issues, but it's not hampering my enjoyment of the show to the degree that I'm still looking forward to each episode. Maybe not quite as much, like you said, as I was during season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian, where I was a little bit more excited about the upcoming episode. This time I'm finding myself a little bit more hopeful of each episode rather than more of like, oh, I hope they do something.
I'm starting to be like, is there another one? Will there be a chapter, a book 2? Because I'm starting to push my hopes back to that. Like, maybe they'll really catch their setting, get their setting down, and catch their stride.
Really move it forward, right?
And say, like, this is where we made some errors,
right?
And maybe we can tighten this up and make it a little bit cooler. And so,
exactly.
Because I give them credit for that. Not everything is just a home run out of the gate.
Sure, of course.
It's still enjoyable. It's it's still a baseball game or whatever. It's your favorite baseball team out there trying to win. Yeah. You can root for them. But they're giving us a lot of weaknesses to talk about. So that's what we're talking about, is the way I feel about it.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree with that.